Welcome to this week's episode of Zero to a Million, brought to you by Unstack. I'm your host, Zach Rego. Today I'm joined by Kelly and Laura Moffat, co-founders of Kirrin Finch, a clothing company focused on breaking gender barriers and embracing freedom of expression. Kelly, Laura, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Zach. Thank you so much for having us today. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, no. So I guess before we jump into current state and how y'all got here, take me through each of your backgrounds and kind of the genesis for founding this company and brand that's grown quite a bit over the years.
Sure. So my name is Kelly. I use she, her pronouns. Prior to starting Kirrin Finch, I was a teacher. So very relevant, obviously. I worked as a New York City public school teacher. I was an elementary school librarian. Today I'm sure there's translatable skills, but I do none of that at the moment.
My name's Laura Moffat. I use she, her pronouns. Prior to starting the business, I worked in healthcare marketing, both as a management consultant and on the agency side as a brand strategist. So I have a lot of marketing skills. I wouldn't say that they were, healthcare to fashion marketing is a little bit different, but a bit more translatable skills than teacher. But both of us don't come from fashion backgrounds, but we did start a fashion company.
Second teacher, transition to e-commerce store owner out of maybe 4.
Wow.
So we're at a 50% hit rate right now. There might be something there that we don't quite know about, but it's there. So that's awesome. What kind of teacher were you?
So I was a 4th and 5th grade classroom teacher, and I was an elementary school librarian. So I was with basically pre-K to 5th grade, and so doing kind of literacy skills and that kind of stuff. So it was great, and I loved it. And honestly, I didn't leave it because I necessarily wanted to leave, but I left it because I thought, this is a really amazing adventure, and it was something that I could go back to if it felt like this wasn't it.
So, Laura, you mentioned B2B marketer historically, healthcare a little bit different than a lot of other B2B marketing, but I have found a lot of transferable skills or e-commerce starting to adopt a lot of B2B marketing strategies, mostly in an effort to increase lifetime value and really start to kind of grow average order value. Have you found that some of those skills have been transferable?
To be honest, I was really on the strategy side. So for me, it was a lot of, working on like, who's the customer, like doing market research, how do we position the company, who are the competitors, and like all of that is the same, right? We do exactly the same things, on a D2C basis as you do on a B2B basis. So for me, like a lot of the like executional stuff, is very similar.
Okay. And then from a, business perspective. So Kelly, you mentioned there was a moment where you're like, we're going to go on this crazy adventure, right? We're going to jump in head first. When was that moment? And what was kind of the genesis for building this brand? Did it start as a side hustle and then it became something we went in head first, or did we start to jump into it earlier?
Great question, Zach. It really kind of blossomed out of our need for an outfit to get married in. So in 2014, we were getting married, and all of a sudden it was like, what are we going to wear? And so we got some custom suits made, and it was this super empowering experience. And we're like, okay, like, hey, this feels really authentic. Like, this is how I want to present myself. But like, neither of us had really worn that many suits prior to that. And so for a long time, Laura really wanted to like start a new business. And she comes from a family of entrepreneurs. And so it was this kind of like, okay, we finally found this idea that we feel like has the right traction. And Laura has a very strong background in market research and understanding that. So after doing a whole bunch of research and making sure that it wasn't just us, we were able to say, okay, let's quit our jobs, and let's really dive head first. And so we did. And 5+ years later, we're still here. So clearly made the right decision.
That's amazing. So early strategy, I guess, Laura, was market research, understand, who the core customer is, obviously doing some product research. Did it start with just suits, or you all obviously have a bunch of product lines now? Did it start with a few products or one?
Yeah, I think we made the decision because we didn't come from a fashion background, and we sort of decided, let's make one product really, really well, and we'll kind of build the business from there. We'll validate the business with one product, we'll do it amazingly well, and we'll go from there. And one of the first surveys that we did was we asked people, what is, based on our sort of concept of menswear inspired clothing for women, that was the initial kind of concept. That's where we came from. What's the one thing that you're, as these potential customers, what are you looking for? And it came out as the button-up shirt. And so we thought, okay, we could make a button-up shirt. We're like, that seems relatively easy. That seems relatively simple. Like, let's make an amazing button-up shirt. Like, a year and a half later, whatever it ended up being, with like rounds and rounds of iterations on making a button-up shirt and realizing actually how difficult it was. That was, where we were at. I mean, at the end of the day, I thought we made an amazing button-up shirt, but I think we thought it was going to be easier than it was. But I think that kind of held true throughout our business. Was, I think some people decide to launch like a capsule collection of like a pair of pants, a sweater, a jacket, a button-up, like a lot of different products, but making products is really, really hard. And so for us, we chose that flagship product. It's still one of our best-selling products. We do make lots of other products now, but that still kind of has been like a very important flagship product for us. Also because I think it's kind of can be the center of your outfit, right? You can kind of build around the button up and kind of add to it, layer on top of it. But that was kind of our process.
So take me through that iteration process. I'm always really interested in this. It's not necessarily marketing specific, but I want to give the listeners out there that are in that either iteration phase or about to launch a new product a little bit of like, hey, you're not alone. Where did you get like the initial cut and sew samples? Mm-hmm. Did you do that, locally, or did you go right to, manufacturers overseas? Take me through kind of that process, because I know that can be challenging and incredibly time consuming.
Definitely time consuming, definitely challenging. But we got really lucky. We actually ended up in an accelerator program that was focused on brands that were incorporating sustainability in a variety of different ways, but into fashion. And so it was called the Brooklyn Fashion Design Accelerator. It no longer exists today, but it was an extension of Pratt University. And we're based in New York City, so we have a wealth of information that is right at our fingertips, which is really amazing. Everything from FIT to Parsons to literally, I was at the factories today in Midtown. Today we manufacture in a variety of different places around the world, but at the time we were only manufacturing in the US. And so we went to some pattern makers and we kind of pitched our idea, and this concept of not being within the binary of women's and menswear like blew a few people's minds, and we were like, okay, you're not the right fit for us, but there's definitely a pattern maker out there and people that do understand, and we were really fortunate to find some really great folks. And so as we developed our samples with them, we then, for the first probably about 3 years, were only manufacturing in the US.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
And you get that first product, you have it, you're happy with it. Now we've got to bring it to market. Were you doing, and I don't know if this fell under your umbrella, Laura, were you doing the legwork up front to get, a site ready, the branding ready, or was it all product? We got the product, now we're ready to start really building and go to market?
I think we definitely had, we launched with a Kickstarter. So I think in about February or March of 2016, we had samples. We didn't necessarily have production, but we did a kind of pre-order based Kickstarter campaign that we used to validate our idea and to get a sense of demand, so that we weren't producing a bunch of different products that we didn't necessarily have a market for. But at the same time, we also did have a landing page, website, initial, Instagram, kind of building the brand, building the email list, building the Instagram followers before we even had any product to sell. I think that's important. I think sometimes people launch with a Kickstarter and launch on their website the same day. And I think it's good to have, you need to have some people ready and willing to purchase your product before you do that. So definitely kind of preceding the market all the time.
Yeah, and those first 2 days of the Kickstarter campaign were wild, right? That beginning surge was, a lot of support from what we had laid the groundwork for.
Yeah, that's huge. And that helps with even Kickstarter
Absolutely
promoting you, right? That like it's the ball's rolling downhill at that point. It's really helpful. I imagine sizing is super challenging. Like every apparel brand struggles with like, how do we distribute sizes? And and y'all are creating a brand new product. So not only did you create a new product that you needed to fit, the way you felt most confident in, but also now you've got a variety of sizes to order. Was the Kickstarter helpful in seeing the distribution of sizes, or was that a little bit of a challenge for the first year or so?
Yeah, so we launched with 2 to 16, which is already quite a large size range, especially then with what brands were doing. But we were able to say, like, okay, we had already locked in a certain amount of fabric, but instead of just making, arbitrary sizes, because we truly didn't know what people were going to want, we were able to say, this many people want size 8, this many people want size 10, and then basically what we did was we then ordered on top of those using that kind of same bell curve. So it not only, helped us understand what we wanted for those customers, and we weren't then sitting on inventory, but like kind of where the trajectory was going to go with our customers.
Yeah.
But I
love that strategy.
Size forecasting is one of the hardest, just in general, hardest things that we do. Honestly, like I think our inventory forecasting in general for fashion brands, just knowing what people are going to want, when they're going to want it is very challenging. And as a small brand, I think that's a really tough one.
And I think that that's something that is the current state of the world is making even more challenging because lead times are getting even longer. So you need to know, one of the things that we're really lucky about, right? We've been able to make products very quickly, especially our USA-based factories. We can get a product to market very like 2-3 months, fine. But now, because it's taking longer to ship stuff, it's taking longer to make stuff, like all that stuff, you have to project much farther out, and like there's just weird stuff happening in production.
Yeah, that's got to be very, very challenging. So you've got a product, you've launched the Kickstarter to a great deal of success. You get the order in of the products. You obviously launch your site at some point soon thereafter. What were the initial marketing channels that kept the momentum there? Because obviously Kickstarter can be high level of momentum. We deliver those products. Okay, now what? What were those first few months after that launch like? And where were we really focusing our efforts as far as getting the brand out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're in a new brand and you're just trying to acquire new customers, for us, we felt that organic search was really important because we felt that it was a new area and that we could build the groundwork, using the keywords that we thought were important. And organic search can take 2 to 3 months to kind of begin to build up that SEO value. And we didn't see other people doing that. And so we worked on that very early on, and that's really paid off. Today, I think that the majority of our traffic still comes from organic search, right? And that's free. That's free traffic right there, right? It's, you doing the legwork on your site ahead of time, but at the end of the day, that is free traffic and it's really important. And we've always focused on that. Obviously you have to pay some money to get people to your site. We didn't initially do paid search. That was something that we brought on, as we grew as a brand. Same thing with, paid social, paid Facebook advertising. When we launched the brand, you could still get organic traffic from Facebook and Instagram. I think that's basically gone. It's pay to play these days on social.
You can't even get it on your personal page.
Yeah, exactly. But I think Instagram as a fashion brand has always been really important, right? Like putting yourself up on Instagram. Obviously there's a million different things you can do now. Reels, live, stories, news feeds. Back when we launched, it was just the simple news feed, but I think that was a lot of our new customer acquisition. And then, driving people to the website via organic, word of mouth, social, building up the email list also was really, really important so that you can bring those customers back. I think Kickstarter was really important for our email list also, to get that initial email list, to get the word of mouth out. But we've always been D2C. And so the full kind of stack of digital marketing has always been at the core of the business. Getting the word out it's about getting the word out. And then once people find out about you, how do you keep them in the funnel,
Yeah. Yeah. I did notice y'all have a blog, which a lot of Shopify stores do. Not a lot of them have at least blogs written this year. You seem to be creating content still, every couple of months. Has that always been a core strategy? Obviously, you started with SEO early, but it seems like you're continuing to iterate on that.
Yeah, I think we've always felt it was an important strategy. I think both for organic traffic, but then also I think for creating engaging content for our customers. I think that because our product caters to a very specific group of people who are looking for a very specific style, and there may not necessarily be a lot of information or style inspiration out there for this customer, I think it's always been important for us to provide those examples of people that they can either see themselves looking like, or inspiration that they can see themselves, dressing like. I think that's always been a core important thing for our brand, is to provide those like real life examples of what you could look like with our clothing.
And on that topic, there's an education element, right? Like you were launching a product that was new to the market. You were solving a problem that you had. So what was that? Was the initial content very much about that? Or I guess there's got to be some element of like, people don't quite know this exists. So we need to figure out, one, if they're searching for it. If they are, like, what do we do to target those folks?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like it's generally, there's probably three things. There's like education, right? Kind of talking about what the product, how it's different. Like people ask us, what's the difference between your button-up shirt versus my button-up shirt, right? That's part of it. I think it's providing those style tips and, guidance about how you can wear it. And then also I think providing those real life examples of people that also look like them that they can see themselves in. I think those are kind of the three things that the blog and as we'll probably talk about, the Dapper Scouts is the purpose of.
And I think and there's an empowerment that comes with that, right? Where you have not seen yourself in mainstream media, and all of a sudden it's like you look at that and it's like, they get me. Right. And I like, even though maybe my grandmother doesn't understand, like they get it. And this is what I want. And I've walked into so many men's sections and tried this on and it doesn't fit. So that's really, a huge part of the proposition that we're giving to our customers, that not only are we going to provide the style, but we're going to provide the fit for you that you've wanted for so long. Because I've shoved myself into all sorts of clothes that like I like aesthetically, it looks great, but I can tell you it did not look good on my body.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Dapper Scout program and kind of creating a model by which people can see themselves wearing that item. Talk me through the origination of that program and how it's evolved or is continuing to evolve.
Yeah, I think that when we started the brand, as Kelly told you, when we started the brand, we had been looking for wedding clothes for ourselves, and we were really struggling to find items that either made us feel good or we saw ourselves in. It didn't exist. And so when we launched
sorry, it's my alarm. My ringer is off, but my alarm got me.
Sorry. When we launched, we wanted to have our customers, like Kelly said, feel empowered, feel confident, feel like a brand got them, right? Really understood their values. And I think the Dapper Scouts was one way that we wanted to do that, by providing that kind of, it's like brand ambassadors, but it's more about providing empowerment and providing visibility and acceptance. Because if you go to most fashion websites, all you see is these, skinny models. Like, let's be honest, right? You don't necessarily see a lot of like real people, although that is beginning to change. I see that a lot with plus size fashion, that there's starting to be a lot more visibility around like acceptance and different types of body types. But I think a few years ago that didn't exist. It was the standard kind of model, traditional model. And we wanted to kind of go against that, because we also were providing a new product that didn't necessarily cater to like the just typical person.
And I think it's far more than just about body size or what you look like, but all these people in our community have really interesting stories to tell, right? And they are relatable. And so it was our way of saying to the people that are shopping from us, like, this isn't just about us, right? It's about creating community. It's about creating acceptance. And, we'll get the like parent that's like, my kid just came out. Like, I don't know what to do. And we'll say like, okay, well, hey, check out some of these stories, right? Or someone's like, I'm exploring, like, I think I might be trans or whatever, right? And it's a resource. It's not just about, selling clothes. It's about creating community.
Yeah.
I recommend everyone check out the page. I mentioned this before we jumped in here, but like I was reading the biographies for a bunch of the people on there, and I thought it was really interesting stories. And I don't know if y'all were hired or hired photographers to take the photos, but like all the photos are very professional. It feels, very, very well put together, and it does certainly create an interesting story for the brand. More community around the customers of the brand, which I think is really an interesting positioning on it.
Yeah, and I think it's also about content I think content marketing is so important these days, and I think it's really hard to find the right balance with content marketing, right? Like people put out a blog, and yeah, okay, fine, but finding a really interesting idea around content marketing that isn't about just like, here's my product, buy it. Right? Because content marketing is basically a subtle way of getting people to buy your product.
Yeah,
like,
top wedding styles for 2021.
But how do you do it in an authentic way where it doesn't feel like you're basically doing a hard sell on the product? So I think if we were trying to do it in a really authentic way that actually is providing value to the customer that goes beyond just like, hey, buy my product.
Yeah, I love that. And if y'all looked at the future of the business, obviously we've expanded products, quite a bit from the button-down shirts. Obviously, there are a bunch of amazing button-down shirt designs. What are the other avenues that you've expanded to that have been really successful, over the last 5 years?
Yeah, we launched last February, great timing, with our suits, just as the world was closing down. Yeah. But it was a wild month for us, and we're very fortunate. I've gone into production 4 times in the last year for our suits, like too many, and I'm in 2 rounds of production right now. We can't keep them on the shelves. So, that was a real game changer for where we were at. We make them all out of Italy, with kind of funky linings, kind of that, that you'll get the button with the contrast buttonhole where it's kind of that feel that you would get through customs. So it's a lot of customers that have never worn a suit before. And for them, maybe the custom route feels either cost prohibitive or time prohibitive. And this allows them to get a ready to wear suit, and get it a week later or whatever it is. And that has been definitely a banner product for us.
Yeah, that's become kind of it's definitely our biggest revenue generator. It may be second or third in terms of volume, but the suit has basically been a game changer for us. And we'd always had our eye on that because ultimately we started the brand through the whole process of searching for suiting for our wedding.
Right.
It took us a while to get there. It's a more complicated product. We really wanted to make sure that we made it really, really well. We really wanted to build the foundation for the brand before we kind of launched that. We'd always had our eye on it. And then last year was kind of when we finally got it together. And now, yeah, it's a hugely popular product for us. And we're just continuing to expand colorways, continuing to expand fits. But we see that as being a really big, huge growth product for us.
Totally. Obviously, average order value goes up because it's just a more expensive product. Have you seen cart size or number of items in cart go up as well, where people are adding a shirt to a suit or vice versa?
Yeah, definitely. Like that was a game changer both for the cart size and for average order value. But the one thing I will say is a suit product is a product that people want. It's also increased our return rate. Like in all honesty, like I think it's a harder product to get. You're also looking for a very specific reason, like you're buying it for your wedding, so it needs to be perfect, right? A button-up shirt, you're maybe, okay, it looks great, fits great, fine. Our return rate was a, kind of specific amount. That's definitely impacted that, but it's also generated way more sales for us. So that's just the reality of being an e-commerce fashion company is there's not much that you can do about returns. You just have to kind of, it's the cost of doing business.
Mm-hmm. But I do think, we're developing right now like a curvy bottom suit pants, and I think that will also help. Bottoms are your bottom half is a hard place from a fit perspective, and so having multiple options there for folks is something that we've been working on for a while in our different offerings, and I think that will really help with that. So
yeah, it's impossible to find one product to fit every single body type. And that's, unless you're a massive brand like Bonobos that's got like 7 different pant fits, that's a tough place. And you just have to choose be very strategic about the kind of body types that you're going for and make the best product possible.
I had a custom suit for, I went and got fitted for a suit for my wedding, and I still had to go back multiple times. So even if you do a fully custom, you're coming across some issues.
Yeah. And I actually don't think a lot of people actually know that. They think, it's custom, just like it shows up and it's perfect. And that's not the case. And so there are certainly alterations you can make to a ready to wear suit as well, but it's a balancing act.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think the COVID was probably tough for those first few months. No one's suits fit. Like, I have a wedding in 3 weeks. I haven't worn a suit in close to 2 years. None of my suits fit. I already know it. I'm just trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to do to resolve it. So there's a windfall of customers coming back, and that's a win. And I know that I am going to be screwed in just 2 weeks. So
we'll be thinking about you. Unfortunately, we're sold out of our suits. So.
Well, I guess last question for y'all. What is the marketing strategy you're most excited about implementing over the next 6 or 12 months, or even just testing whether or not it's going to be a huge success for you?
Well, we actually have a brand new website that we've been working on for the last 8 months, and we are literally down to the wire. As of today, we are trying to soft launch the website, but as always, there's always little things holding us back. But I'm most excited about the new website. It's been my baby. We've had a website we've probably had our current website for about 4 years. And as a Shopify user, you add apps onto it, you custom code. It starts to, like anything that's old, it's like your iPhone. Once you've had it for 3 years, or a computer, everything begins to slow down. And so we've needed both from a technical perspective, we've needed a new website just from page speed and things like that, but also just, it's more modern times, right? We want it to be fresher, we want to have a fresh look. So I'm super excited about launching our new website. Fingers crossed it will be, by the time this podcast launches, it definitely better be live.
All right. I'll hold you to that.
I'm really curious to see there's a lot of changes that we've made from a design and a technical perspective. So I'm curious about how our conversion rates are going to change, how our average order value is going to change, how our cart size is going to change, all those kind of more technical things to see, whether having a new website makes a big difference. And we will see. Other than that, marketing wise, I think we're just continuing to do the typical digital marketing, stack of paid search, paid social, email. We do now do SMS marketing, and that's been a relatively new thing. And I see more and more brands getting involved in it. I think initially we were very hesitant about doing SMS marketing because we felt, we don't want to be that brand that's interruptive marketing. It feels like it could be that way because you're basically interrupting people's day. But I think it can be done in a way that does feel authentic and not interruptive, as long as you're doing it in a very sort of infrequent and also, you're providing value to the customer, right? Because at the end of the day, the customer, if they really love you and they know that your product sells out, if you send them a text message that says, hey, we just got your favorite product back in stock and you're the first to know, that makes that person happy, right? Because they're not happy when they find out 3 days later and they didn't see the email. So I think SMS is great, and I think it gets straight to the customer. They open it right away. They make the decision right away. And that's, I think, been a big game changer for us as well.
And it's interesting. We truly, both of us, and we don't agree about everything, that's for sure. But we were both in very hard agreement that we didn't want to do it. And then it went really well. So there you go.
Yeah. And I think the unfortunate thing with email marketing is that there's just, there's so many brands trying to gain so much attention, and you're just, you're in that inbox and you're buried and you're ending up in spam, and it's becoming a really challenging game. So SMS, I think, opens up the way to get back in that customer's front and center. I think SMS will probably go the way of email, and we'll end up with SMS promotional folders and all of that stuff. But for now, we're getting to the customer, they're getting the message, and,
I think the question for Zach is, what do you think is the next? Is it like holographs? Is what's coming next, right?
Well, one, I think your perspective on SMS versus email is spot on. We had Andrew Bielecki, the CEO of Klaviyo, on a few weeks back, and he actually mentioned consumers want to basically be communicated with from different brands in different ways. So there's some brands where they're only going to register for email, there's others where they want to know when a product launches and they're going to register for, SMS. Or your example, Laura, is perfect. I did this recently. It was a pair of shoes I wanted, out of stock. First thing they prompted me to do was put my phone number in to know. Yep, got the text, bought instantly. Like, they recovered someone that I would have been long gone, never thought about it again. So there are really great use cases there. On the flip side, like Banana Republic, I literally just search for their sale email when, like, I know I need a specific item from them. I'm never going to read any of their emails. Like, I'm just waiting for the 40% off cardholder email. Like, I literally search it every time. So there are different ways I want to be communicating with different brands. I think y'all's approach is spot on. Future of, I love TikTok. I like have become a fan of it. I think it's a place that B2B marketers and B2C marketers can have a lot of success. I also really think personalization is going to go in a whole nother level, maybe not holograms of like the founders dropping into your living room and saying, hey, Zach, buy our shirt. But like personalization on page will evolve to the point where like I'm landing and Banana Republic's going to be like, here's a special 40% off. You've only ever bought with this. Like, buy now to get it. Like, this coupon combusts in 25 minutes kind of thing. But like, I imagine that type of level of personalization will happen. And even product personalization where, we're working really hard, not to talk about us, but like we're working really hard that you can send one email from Klaviyo to an audience of 1,000 and all of them see something slightly different, not only from an image and text perspective, but maybe even from a product perspective where we dynamically insert a product. So like, I think that is kind of step one to, much greater steps in how you can personalize content for buyers.
Yeah, I mean, I think AI, right? Everyone's using AI to get as personalized as you can. I think as small businesses, it becomes hard to, like, that's like the holy grail, right? If you can personalize it so that every single person gets the email or the SMS or lands on your website and it's completely dynamic and they only see what's important to them. Yeah, that's amazing. I think that as a small business, that gets really challenging, and that's something, we all aspire to, but I think as a small business, it's really hard to like get there, right? Because it's about like your bandwidth. Absolutely. Like, how many segments can you really create in Klaviyo, right? Like, Klaviyo is amazing. You can have 1 million segments and you can send 1 million segmented emails. But at the end of the day, if you only have one email marketer or someone that's doing all the stuff, like, can you really do that? And yes, I think it's great, but.
Yeah, and I think there's also like a cost aspect to all these things, right? There's like all these AI like fit programs that are really cool, yes. And there's really interesting stuff that's coming down the pipeline. But like, we are leaps and bounds away from where we would be able to afford that. So but anything, right? Like technology evolves and ultimately it becomes more cost effective and down the line, and then it trickles into everyone. So.
People have been talking about personalization though for like 5 years, and I've yet to still see it like implemented in a way that like is cost effective and actually like logistically feasible.
Hold me accountable. I'll hold you accountable for the website. You hold me accountable for delivering that product to you
okay.
I won't give you an exact date because I'm not on the product team and I always think it's way easier to build things than it is. But let's say like January-ish time frame, I will be in touch to at least chat with you about it.
Do it. All right.
And if it's not super easy using your data in Klaviyo, then we failed.
Okay. Noted. Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Where can everyone connect with either you or learn more about Kirrin Finch, and obviously social networks that they can connect with y'all on?
Yeah, so our website is KirrinFinch.com. So that's KirrinFinch.com. And our Instagram and social is Kirrin Finch. So, at Kirrin Finch, check us out. Facebook, Instagram.
I think you got a career in
TikTok.
TikTok.
We are on TikTok. I would say TikTok.
We're not on TikTok.
TikTok is a hard platform. So I think that's the one thing. I think it's a really sexy, hot platform and everyone's really into it right now, but I think as a marketer, it's a tough platform to figure out. I think it's you're either really lucky and you get that crazy viral video, or you're just plugging away at like 100 followers. Because if you go on and you look at all these big brands, like huge brands that have like, 300,000 followers or 500,000 followers on Instagram, and they have like 200 followers on TikTok. Yeah. So it's a hard platform for brands to figure out.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's an influencer that posts, not even an influencer, a middle schooler, potentially high schooler, that posted one video and has 7 million views.
Yeah, right. Yes. So it's like, that's a tough one. It's a tough one to invest in when you don't know necessarily like what you do, the effort that you put in is going to provide a return.
Totally.
But it's cool. It's fun. It's a fun platform.
I do, and we are about to test this ourselves. We are partnering with TikTok influencers in the B2B world because we have seen a bunch of Shopify content on there or Shopify influencers on there that are getting hundreds of thousands of views. So to me, it's a exciting channel, even for B2B. I do think from an influencer perspective, it's a great place because some of those folks can catch a little virality with a video, and that's really powerful.
Yeah, tell us all your secrets.
I'll try. I gotta have some success first. So I'll tell you that in November. We're trying that in October.
All right, you're gonna go from 50 followers, 100 followers, and
100% growth. That's the stat I'll send you. So here's how we got 100% growth on TikTok. That's my content marketing headline.
Done for the year.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining me. This is really a pleasure.